Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit and welcome to Procraft right here, supporting the pros. All of the money from this broadcast does of course go to the pros who submitted this replay, and it's my pleasure to bring you Twilight Foe U, aka FXO Oz. He is in the blue trunks, he is playing Protoss to the northwest of the Tal'Darim altar, versus his opponent. It is Liquid Jinro, the Guerrilla Terran. He is in the yellow trunks and he is playing Terran to the southwest. This cannot fail to be amazing, in my honest opinion. I simply cannot see how this game could be bad between players of this caliber. Liquid Jinro, the guy who, I believe, has got the furthest in Codes out of any foreigner. Admittedly, it was a very early set of Codes, but he did really well. And his opponent, who came in third in the 2011 November GSL Codes, being beaten by the guy whose name I can never pronounce, or whatever. Yes, Jajaki, or it's got a lot of J's in it, let me put it that way. I'm pretty sure any name with like 4 or 5 J's in it isn't really a word. It's just made up. It's like, I wonder how guys from that team actually name their players. Let me think. Do they actually drop a poodle onto the keyboard and then just use whatever comes out? I guess that's it. But yes, this man, FXO Oz, a scary individual. Jinro, on the other hand, able to wrestle to the ground pretty much any player if he's given the opportunity to do so. He's actually a bit of a terror on the Korean ladder. Sadly hasn't been performing so well in tournaments lately. He's been on what many have called a very long slump, which is very sad to see. He was certainly the foreigner hero for the longest time alongside Idra. And there was a rivalry between those two guys. But I've got to say, he's still an excellent player, and you should never count him out of any matchup, especially on the ladder when he's simply playing comfortably in his team house. Now, both of these guys failing to scout each other all that rapidly. Just a straight up partial wall off here from Jinro, the 1 racks. Often you'll see a pretty early expand from Terran players on this map. You'll see a pretty early expand from anyone on this map, really. Neither of these guys going for any kind of crazy CC on Nexus first. You just don't do that on a Korean ladder. Not in this situation, it's too risky. That's what both of these guys expect anyway. They both know each other, they both respect each other. It's not some random smurf. Zealot going down, and the Stalker to follow that one up to secure. He goes for a 1 gate expand. We've got a 1 racks expand here from Jinro. Not exactly unsurprising. Bunker going down to make sure that that is nice and secure. We'll see if any kind of aggression does come from Oz. See what he's able to pull out of his magic wizard's hat. Still no sign of an expansion just yet from him. May start to apply pressure. Bring the probe around the side here. Could place an aggressive pylon. But is he chrono boosting? No, he isn't. He's not really chrono boosting that Cybernetics core right now, so we'll see how much pressure can really come in here. I don't think all that much, honestly. Oz will be able to have a bit of a poke here and there, but that is about it. He can't go in against that bunker, and he knows it. Gas now coming up in the background for Jinro. Was, needless to say, a gasless expansion. Nothing out of the ordinary there, and there's the Nexus right here for Oz as well. Pylon also up to start to create a partial wall off there. Oz playing quite greedy in terms of using the chrono boost because, well, why not? He's not getting aggressive, so where else are you going to spend it on? You don't need your warp gate tech up like incredibly fast against Jinro. Certainly not. Jinro likes to play nice and safe. Now to wonder what kind of style he'll employ here. He's going up against Protoss, so potentially Marine Tank. He's quite a classic player. Also likes to employ nukes lately in his play, as we've seen. So in his game against Anson Star, he was able to do that against Protoss, and that was quite effective. In the meantime, Jinro simply working on yet more racks. Reactor and Tech Lab coming up here, and a 3rd racks to follow that one up. The minute map control in favor of Oz, simply wandering around, just keeping an eye on things, making sure nothing sneaks out. And Jinro just looking for proxy pylons here. He's not going to find any, because of course there aren't any to find. There's 2 more gateways out here for Oz, and everything nice and safe and secure for him for the time being. There's the kind of point where Jinro will want to start to try and tech and start to harass via the use of drop play. Another bunker going down at the front, and really it's unnecessary, honestly. But the thing is, he's blind at the moment. He's being denied scouting information. He doesn't want to use a scan either to find out what's going on. Now Force of Sentry's going in, and pretty early Ghost Academy here for Jinro, and this is not uncommon for him either at the moment. He's using a lot of Ghosts lately. Seems to be a fairly effective style for him, and this is Oz's little assault force. Probably not enough to really smash its way through there, honestly. Stimmer's on the way. 2 bunkers up. Very close to the SCV line, but let's see what kind of damage he can do. There's an immediate pull off the line, and are we going to get a force field placement to prevent that from being repaired? Apparently not. Interesting. Oz decides he doesn't want to do that. I think he's realized that he doesn't quite have the force to break that, so no real damage done to either side, except for mining time wasted, and Jinro being a little paranoid here, but honestly, since there's more units on the way, I can hardly blame him. Now finally going back to mining. The point of this pressure is not necessarily to break this line, but to force Jinro to repeatedly pull SCVs off, so that he's not mining as much as he could, giving an economic lead to Oz. Also giving an opportunity to pick off a couple of SCVs here and there, and as I say, he's pulled a lot of SCVs here. Should be able to repair against that kind of damage, however, and Jinro, once he gets Stim, could actually go up and destroy this force without a problem. He's got quite a lot of Marauders. He's even got a Ghost in the mix, so I have a feeling that's what he's waiting for. Let's see if Oz is going to stick around. Apparently not. Will he decide to gather another force and go forth? Apparently not either, so we'll be backing off for the moment and going to go with Blink Play. Good choice on this map, simply because of these areas right here, all sorts of possibilities for blinking up. We could do an awful lot with that. Admittedly, he doesn't have the capability to effectively spot as of yet, doesn't have a robo up. No observer on the field. Been playing with gateway units for quite some time here. Been delaying his tech quite a lot, but he's got himself a good economy in the process. 54 probes. Needs to start working on his 3rd. Pylon going down at the back of the base there as well for him, and small pressure force coming out from Jinro. Not sending everything. Leaving in a couple of defensive units, if I recall correctly. Now sending the rest of them. I have to wonder how much damage he can do here without Medivacs. It's an interesting style of play here, not going for the Medivacs. He's relying on Ghosts instead, and this force is not as spread out as I would like, but it's far too spread out for Jinro's liking, and that's the opinion that really matters here. I'm going to hold on to this tower for the moment and then just back off. He can't really do an awful lot. Both these guys being very respectful of each other, honestly. They don't want to muck about. Probe, and Jinro scouts himself a pylon. Quick stim, and he's going to be working away at that for a while. At least the Marine has something to do. It's not getting bored. It's got a little bit of a hobby here. Both these guys pretty equal up until this point. As you can see, army supply very equal. Worker supply count also equal. Still both sitting on 2 bases. Funnily enough, Jinro hasn't actually made an attempt to take this one yet. I have to wonder if he's actually going to try and take this, but I don't think so. He may take this base here. That's a possibility. That said, with the amount of firepower Jinro's got, he can take those rocks out before the CC gets there, so it's not really too big a deal one way or the other. And another free pylon picked off here for Jinro. Gotta be happy about all the gifts that Oz is leaving him. Not the most useful gifts, and they're all pylon-shaped, so we can guess what they are before he even unwraps, but hey, never mind. And now the big pressure push comes in from Oz. Oz currently on 6 gates with Blink Stalker. That's quite dangerous. That's the size of the army. Jinro is certainly outnumbered in that regard. Admittedly, he will be fighting in a defensive position, but this could end up... Oh, he's only got 1 bunker down, actually. Salvaged another. That might be an error, and at this point, Oz is going to be able to apply pressure and, more to the point, deny the expansion to a 3rd base. It's too risky to take a 3rd with that large an army camping outside. Another bunker coming down to try and reinforce here, and even we might even see a bit of Blink Stalker harassment one way or the other, just blinking in, doing a little bit of damage, and then getting out of there once again. No Marauders in range there, and Concussive Shell is finished though, and oh! Nasty little bit of damage, but he went in for the Ghost. And that was the very trademark scream of the Ghost going off in the background there. Loses a couple of Stalkers to take Ghost out. Worthwhile, in my opinion. Especially considering that he's going through the High Templar and Storm is on the way for Oz as well. So he wants to take out as many Ghosts as possible. They're the biggest threat to him. And only 1 Ghost on the field at the moment. Problem is, Jinro's on 2 bases and is also building Medivacs, so he's sinking an awful lot of gas into that and upgrade. So he can't really afford Ghosts at this point in time. To make things a little bit tricky for him. Oz, on the other hand, has now taken his 3rd, whereas Jinro has been unable to do so. Jinro has a couple of forces spread across the map, just looking for proxy pylons and looking for hidden bases. Make sure he doesn't get caught out of position there. But Oz building up a very formidable army in the center here. To the point where the Stalkers are panicking and trying to get away. Unfortunately, they're not able to do so. Whipped back into shape there by Oz. Storm is almost complete. More ghosts coming now on the field for Jinro, now that he's able to get his gas count up to where he needs it to be. But my concern is that Jinro has not been able to expand. Things are getting a little bit stressful in that regard. Small drop force here. Looking to try and do perhaps a little bit of harassment there. Either that or secure the third, but the third's actually going to go down here, as opposed to towards his opponent's base, which would be a little bit unwise. And yet, another proxy pylon. So many pylons have been donated to the cause of Jinro at this point. That so close to seeing the other one. No, he doesn't spot it. That's a quick stim forward, and now we'll be able to snipe off yet another pylon. Jinro's pylon removal services. They're very, very good at their jobs, folks. They come highly, highly recommended. A little bit of a scout there cleaned up, and there is the quick transfer. And Jinro able to inflict some reasonable damage, considering the blink went off there, and he was able to pick off a couple of Stalkers, but not necessarily worthwhile. In the meantime, 5,000 Zealots currently on the field here for Oz. May or may not be indicative of his actual number. They are not to scale. The Warp Prism on the way up for Oz as well. Very slow and steady game up until this point between these two players. Jinro looking solid on his economy, however. 65 SCVs and 3 bases, versus also 3 bases of his opponent here. Not a lot of damage really been done to the economy of either player, as you can see. 2 workers killed. Not a lot. Right now, we're going to see a max out from Oz and then a potential push. There's really no reason not to. Can easily secure a 4th behind this, but we're going to have quite a nasty looking drop right here from Jinro, whose upgrade count is looking nice. So on +2/+1, trying to keep up with his opponent, who is on +2/+2. However, the amount of firepower he's going to be able to gain from that. My god, there's another pylon there. I actually do like it from Oz. It's to stop these drops from coming in without them being spotted, so it's good, but this is the concern here. Command center being built and absorbing quite a lot of the charges there, and a good EMP lands. Down a number of the shields of the Zealots, and Oz has no interest in engaging at this point yet, and I wouldn't really either. That's a nasty force to go into, especially with that many ghosts. In the meantime, this is the harassment that's coming in, and a warping actually cancelled off, and he could pick off a couple of High Templar here. More than a couple, in fact, and there's the storm going off, a double storm to bring down the remainder of that, but lots more warpings cancelled, and unfortunately for Oz, he's caught out in the center here. Keeping some High Templar in that Warp Prison to avoid the EMPs. Storm goes off. There's still plenty of ghosts and plenty of EMPs available here, and this force is not abated. Down goes the Nexus. Some excellent harassment right here by Jinro, putting Oz back on 2 bases. Oh, a huge EMP lands, and that's all of those High Templar. Feedbacks are plenty going off, but there's actually not a lot of energy there, so it doesn't make a blind bit of difference. Jinro with some excellent engagements in the center here. But now he's going for it. A big stim and a lot of Marauder firepower coming in, but the Storm's coming in from the left flank. Here come the Ghosts. Will he have enough? And they've been charged on by the Zealots and instantly eliminated here. Jinro split down the center. A good engagement right here for Oz, and repeated reinforcements coming in, but Jinro is bringing in reinforcements from the back and is now in a good defensive position, and you don't want to run against a wall of Marauders. Unbelievably, this force is still alive and is now harassing the main. Probes, all gift-wrapped for the drop force. The probe removal services having now rebranded. Because of the state of the economy, folks, you've got to diversify in order to survive. They're also very good at demolishing robotics base and cancelling the extended thermal lance, which is an absolutely perfect thing to have happen. We're going to have no more Colossus coming out, and the extended thermal lance is heavily delayed, which means that a Marauder force can easily smash this. However, the harassment comes in onto the 3rd base, and this is not so much harassment as it is annihilation. The entire mineral line destroyed without too much of a problem here. Oh, and a nasty storm as well. Jinro doesn't want to stand in that one. In fact, the Zealots warp into it as well. A second storm goes down, some damage done. The Ghosts walk right into it, absorbing the majority of the fire. They stay alive, and down goes the Archon before it even gets a shot off as well. An expansion coming up, but it's already spotted right here by Jinro, who is all over the map at this point. Drop Force is now finally... It's still not dead! Why is it not dead? Nobody knows. Corporal Marauder of the Marauder Corporation smashing its way through here, a hostile takeover. In the meantime, it's a massacre in the center. Colossus now on the field, and Jinro actually has the forces here, but my concern is that he ends up getting stormed, and he's actually got no medevac energy left to heal up here. Either that or it's just because he's moving and wants to get the hell out of there. Jinro and Oz tearing chunks out of each other, both with smaller armies. Why is this force not dead? It is finally deceased by the looks of it. The medevacs get out of there, but Oz is taking a real pounding here. This Marine's found itself a hobby and has thrown about 5,000 rounds at that Nexus so far. I think the Nexus will eventually give up due to boredom. The probes surround, fairly standard, and finally get cleaned up, but that's given a target for Jinro. This orbital command survived, and we've got another command center here that could very easily expand out, and he's almost mined out at this base too, so he may want to start transferring that. What Jinro's got to do is try and take this base out. He must try and drop it. He doesn't want to let Oz secure that and re-secure the 4th there. Jinro with a large bioforce. It's looking quite scary for him. His army supply count is ahead of Oz. Things are looking strong for him. Now pushing forward with as many units as he can. Quick stim just to keep an eye on things. A lot of medevacs as well. The count is looking pretty strong. Ooh, some nice feedback play onto those ghosts, but they don't die. Did lose a lot of energy, though, so that's perhaps the main thing in that respect. So it's a huge amount of long-distance mining going on here for Oz, which is not exactly what I'd call unexpected, but his probe count's very high indeed, and Jinro did lose a lot of SCVs in that engagement down to the bottom here. You may be able to catch up with Mules, but he's still got to be a little bit careful. There goes down a defensive storm, and interestingly, a photon cannon in the center of the map, which is easily destroyed, along with the accompanying High Templar. There's the base going down for Jinro, who's actually managed to deploy and has cut the map in half now with this large bioforce and should be able to deflect any kind of harassment coming in his direction. And he's also stunted the tech growth of his opponent, who really can't get any more Colossus out yet. He's having to rebuild that robotics bay, and he's also taken the time to try and catch up in terms of upgrades. He's on 3-2, so only a slight advantage for Oz there in terms of upgrades, and a drop force now moving in. Multi-pronged attack, needless to say. Ooh, High Templar are there, but they don't have what they need in order to bring down the medevac. There's no storm available, so that's a freebie, a little bit of a donation here to the Jinro cause. Jinro is now a registered charity. He's taking donations of probes, High Templar. Oh, can he bring down the pylon before the warping comes in? He can't. And that drop will, as a result, be shot down. Very unfortunate there. Surprised he didn't actually focus on that to prevent more warpings, because that was the only pylon in the area. He could have taken that base if he'd managed to do that. In the meantime, Jinro was forced to pull back. He really can't get a good angle of attack here. Personal cloaking on the way up, which is potentially to exploit the fact that there's only one, and I do count them one, observer on this entire map here. Actually hanging around in the center, just keeping an eye on things, and I have to wonder if Jinro's just going to go for it and just wreck that base. I can't blame him if he does. It's not all that well defended. He should be able to take it out. He, in fact, has visibility up the cliff face, so if Oz doesn't respond very rapidly, he's going to end up losing a bunch of units here. Oz, for the moment, is a little bit stuck, and a small force being moved up by Jinro, kind of as a distraction, I feel. He'll have to make a decision there. Another pylon's going to be taken out, and here's the big crash force of Jinro coming down on that Nexus, and it will die horribly. As you can see, the Zealots are easily eliminated, no real losses there for Jinro. He smashes that apart, and the harassment force comes in from the side, cancelling another warp in right there. But this is going to end up being a bizarre base trade by the looks of it. Jinro will be able to pull back in time as Oz goes all the way across the map and decides to wreak havoc upon his opponent. However, Jinro does have a large army here. He may be able to come back from this. The problem is that he's going to lose a lot of production facilities in the process. And into a narrow corridor go the Zealots, and a big storm comes down right on top of Jinro's army. Jinro trying to pull back at this point, but that force doesn't really have the mobility to get there. And Oz now raining down terror on his opponent. Jinro pulls away, and some production facilities will take some damage here, but this army will get crushed eventually once Jinro's able to actually get back. The problem is it's a very long jog across the verdant plains of Talda and Malta, and units coming out here are easily eliminated, and that's a lot of damage done to Jinro. He will be able to rebuild. He's got a trust fund in order to make that happen, so if he can actually annihilate this force and get a good counterattack on, then he can make this work, but he has pretty much just lost his main there, which is hardly a good start. 26 minutes in now, and both these guys are ripping each other to pieces. Jinro coming in with the reinforcements, and the storm misses. Big force of cloak ghosts coming in, and they're going to have a field day. That's a lot of snipes going off, and they are easily annihilated. Storm goes down, and it actually ends up missing the ghosts entirely, and Oz walks into his own storm. Jinro smashes his way through it. And that is Oz's army crushed for the moment. He's rebuilding in the background, however. Now, Jinro's taken a lot of damage in terms of the number of production buildings that he lost. That's something to consider. He's able to mine from this base, and he's got his third down at the bottom here as well. Jinro's still in a bit of a nasty position. He did take out the base up here. I believe this actually puts them both equal. Indeed, actually, no. Jinro has an edge because Jinro's able to mine from this and this base. Only one functional mining base up for Oz. So economically, he has the edge, but the question is, will he be able to get up a large enough force to deal with this, as Oz is able to warp in more units? Oz's army is not large, but it's quite powerful. Supply depot picked off right there by his opponent. Bit of a stim by Jinro, looking to see what he can pick off. Oh, and he takes that down, takes a little bit of high Templar damage, not a huge amount. Good position right there to try and snipe off some of those Colossus, but not a lot of Vikings. That's concerning. 3 Vikings versus 2 Colossus. Not exactly an ideal situation. Another Storm. It misses. Storm going down. Oh, nicely done there by Oz. He's able to storm the trees. Takes those down. The Cloak Ghosts move into the mix. Snipes go off to pick off those vulnerable units there. Jinro still taking a lot of damage. More supply depots going up to try and allow Jinro to reinforce, and he's got to be careful about how he engages here. Another storm goes off and catches a bunch of ghosts in the process. Jinro trying to micro as best he can right here to get away from that, but Jinro's army is getting torn to pieces, and Oz is able to regain advantage in this game. However, there is a tech switch coming in for double Banshee right here for Jinro. I don't know if that's going to be enough, but I suppose we're about to find out, aren't we? Does as much damage as he can, walks right into the storm there by Oz. Some elegance going on here from him. In the meantime, those Zealots have been just ripping through the remaining supply depots, which has caused reinforcement problems for Jinro. Jinro's taking a lot of damage here. His army is quite small. He is bringing in Banshees, but he's still going up against Stalkers here. Not a lot. There's only 3 Stalkers on the field. He's also got some Archons there, so if he gets enough Banshees out, he's going to be in a great spot. He's about to have 4 Banshees. 1 Zealot moved in there and surrounded. Honestly, Jinro's got to hold on to this base. It's incredibly important that he does. Most of his supply depots are here. He's also got a lot of SCVs and a lot of mining that can be done. Jinro must hold this. Can he do it? He's got 4 Banshees. That might be enough. My concern is they end up getting feedback and then taken down. A couple of units now just trying to desperately hold on to this, and this is where most of his production is. And I think he's now finally realized he's got to go. There goes the Cloak, and there's an Observer right there. He walks right into that Storm. He doesn't take too much damage, though. Now morphing directly into Archons in order to deal with that. Scan goes down. Try and eliminate that Observer. The Observer does not die, however. Banshees are what holds this force. And you know what? They're actually holding it. Archon's taking a huge amount of fire. Archons are not effective against Banshees. Another Archon torn down. Archon count is now at 6. And honestly, as you can see, he's got no answer to this. This is the problem right now for Oz. He's actually got no mining bases. Not at all. That big assault there by Jinro was able to smash its way through. And while he's kind of trading bases at the moment, Oz doesn't have a huge answer to these Banshees, but he's losing too many. He should be losing less than he is. He's not focusing on the Stalkers here. Great control here by Oz. Only 2 Banshees remaining, and the Cloak isn't going to make that much of a difference. Archon tears 1 from the sky, and there's 1 remaining Banshee, and the probes go in. In the meantime, I should point out, while all this has been going on, Jinro's been forced to pull off of here, and is now rebuilding over to the side. Both of these guys have barely anything left. Jinro's on 18 supply. And Oz is on 33. These guys have nothing left. Massive number of probes went in right here from Oz because he actually has no mining bases. And he's got no money either. He can't build another mining base. Jinro's actually in a position where he could win this. Simply because Jinro actually has a form of income. Long distance mining is all that's happening right here for Oz. He's got no money. He threw everything he had into that attack. And unfortunately, he has no idea about this hidden base for Jinro to the southeast. And now the Banshees are going to inflict a terrible toll on his opponent. There is no answer to those Banshees. Only 3 Templar could become 1 Archon, could be very easily picked off by these pair. And he's going to have to be careful, though. He will take some damage from feedback here. Not enough to kill it, but there are more Marines on the field as well. Walks into a storm, but he is able to keep most of the Marines alive. Now surrounds the Archon, which is about to pop, and there you go. Jinro shuts down one of the remaining units. There's only 6 Zealots and 1 High Templar. He's currently long-distance mining, which is incredibly slow, and he's not able to get another base up. Jinro actually has an army. It's a very small army, but he's got an army. He's got really not a lot to defend against those 3 Zealots. 2 Zealots, in fact. Marine pops out and then shuts that down, and Jinro actually going for the kill, and he could really get it here. I don't see how Oz can stop him. He's got enough Templar for a single Archon. There's the cloak going off. There is an observer, but I don't believe it's anywhere close, and there's also that photon cannon there, but these probes are now going down one after another. GG, ladies and gentlemen, and Jinro takes against Oz in an unbelievable game there on Tal'Darim Altar. Crazy play. Both of those guys just tore absolute chunks out of each other. They were both close to death. The supply count for both tells a grim story indeed. Many lives were sacrificed this day, but Jinro was able to take it with functional command centers and this hidden base up to the southeast, and what an amazing game that was between these two.